I find my coping mechanism is to go to the gym or take long walks. What strategies do you have, Prime Minister, who must have one of the most stressful jobs one can have, to cope and deal with your own mental well-being?
Yeah, funnily enough, my strategies are pretty similar to yours. So there we go, actually. So I have a dog called Nova. She's a 3-year-old Labrador, which I've got to be totally honest, full disclosure, I was not keen to get. But my 2 young girls and my wife all kind of conspired against me, and she showed up a few years ago, and she's very much the love of my life and all our lives. So when I can go out for a walk with her, I find that actually very helpful, because I would also be happy to go for a walk by myself, but I think people think that you're a bit funny if you do that, right? So having the dog means I can just go for a walk, essentially, by myself and get a bit of a reset. And you're right, I think fitness is a really good thing. I don't know if any of you saw, I went for a run with the hardest geezer the other week, and he and I were talking about that, actually, and he was talking about how fitness and being out and about helps him cope with some of the challenges he's had to overcome, and I can relate to that. And I also think family is really important, right? I think probably all of you, what's the most important thing in all of our lives? It's our family. Right? That is the most important thing. That's where we get, certainly where I get my support from, and my wife does an enormous amount to support me. So those are kind of the things that I would point to as well. But the one thing I'll touch on to a slightly different area is our welfare system, because I really want to make sure everyone gets the support they need with mental health challenges, right? And it's a good thing that our society is more open talking about mental health challenges in a way that it wasn't 10 years ago. But I think we do need to be careful that we don't risk over-medicalising what are the everyday challenges and anxieties of life that you described. And when it comes to our welfare system, what we've seen is just this massive increase since the pandemic in the number of people who are of working age, all your age, but they're not working because they're deemed to be of ill health, and it's predominantly driven by mental health claims. And that's causing an enormous increase in the numbers. 800,000 more people who are not working right now on welfare because of ill health since the pandemic alone, just in the last few years. And the bill is forecast, the bill for all these benefits is for PIP alone, which you've heard about, is forecast to grow by 50% in the next 4 years. Right? We spend something like £70 billion on welfare for working age people today. The bill for PIP alone is forecast to grow by 50% in just 4 years if we don't do something about it. So I've set out quite a comprehensive plan to reform our welfare system, get people the support they need, because you all know that work is good for you, right? Of course it puts money in your bank account, but it also gives you purpose, it gives you dignity, gives you hope. We should be supporting people into work and making sure that the welfare system is fair to all of you who are paying for it. So I've set out some comprehensive reforms to do that. Now again, people are going to say, I'm cruel, I'm heartless, I don't care about people. That's all nonsense. I want to get people the help they need. But I also want a welfare system that's fair to all of you who are paying for it, and that's supporting people into work because that's good for them. And again, that's a clear choice at the next election. Right, next we had, yes, ma'am.
With regards to the, good morning, Prime Minister.
Morning.
Morning. With regards to the PIP, when exactly is it going to start, the reform?
All the reforms, yeah. So we've already started. So one thing we've already started doing are the fit notes. You all heard about these fit notes, right? So we did about 11 million of these fit notes last year. And they used to be called sick notes, and then they were changed, because the idea was when people say, oh, I can't work, actually, doctors would be able to say, well, maybe you can do some work, actually. It's not all or nothing. But what we discovered is that hasn't worked, because 94% of those 10 million fit notes basically sign people off as completely unfit to do anything. So that's clearly not working. So we're already trialling some new ways to do it, and maybe saying, you know what? Maybe GPs shouldn't be the best people to do that. They're busy, and it's difficult for them with their patient relationship. Hopefully you'll have a close relationship with your GP, and it sometimes puts them in a difficult position. So we're trying to figure out, is there a different way to do that? So we've already started trialing that. And we've also started saying to people that we can expect more of them, right? When I was Chancellor, if you were on welfare, all you had to do was work something like 9 hours a week in order to get all your benefits. That's all you had to do. And I didn't think that was right. You're all working very hard. And this is people who are capable of working, so we've changed that. And now we've said that you've got to be working at least half of a full-time job in order to keep receiving your benefits. And actually, if after 12 months, with all the support we've given you, when you're capable of working, you're still not accepting the job or the hours that are on offer that your work coach has provided for you or found for you, then you won't be able to keep receiving those benefits, because that's not fair, right? You've been given all the support, you've had a year, you're able to work, and at some point, if you're not taking the job, that's not right, that's not fair. So we're going to stop it after a year. So that will come in if I'm re-elected, because we have to pass legislation for that, and we've published a reform on PIP to explain the things that we will look at. And it's about how do we treat mental health? How does PIP treat mental health claims in particular? And the system, as you know, and you probably see online, look, the system looks like it can be gamed. Right? There are too many parts of it where people can just provide information. It's hard for the assessor to, you're nodding, you've seen the videos, right? Yeah. So, and I think it's just putting a bit more objectivity, providing evidence of a medical condition, as opposed to just saying, well, I can't do this and I can't do that, and suddenly, well, here's a check for thousands of pounds, right? So that's a reform that we've set out. So good. Right, have we got one more left? Right, who's got the last question? Right, yes, miss, there we go.
Teacher from Erewash. I just want to know how you're going to increase the budget in schools and support staff.
Yeah. Well, thank you for what you do. That is amazing. What age do you teach? Year 2. 6 and 7. Oh, brilliant. Okay. So, look, I love talking about education because I think it's probably the most important thing I can do outside of the economy. Because I think that the best way to transform people's lives is to provide them with an amazing education. That's what I believe, right? Because everyone comes from lots of different backgrounds, but the way for me to make sure that everyone has got a chance to have an amazing life is to provide them with the best education. Now that's only possible because we've got incredible teachers like you doing what you do. So thank you for that. I really appreciate it, and I know it wasn't easy during COVID to juggle everything, as it was not for parents either, but there we go. So we've already made sure that the school budget is gone up a lot over this Parliament. So right now, per pupil, more going into our schools than we've ever had in history, which is a good thing. But I think you'll know this as well. We've got to make sure we focus on standards, and phonics is something that you'll be familiar with. Now, this was something that we rolled out, my predecessors rolled out, to help our kids to read better, to teach them phonics. Now again, Labour Party opposed all of that at the time, said it was a gimmick and all the rest of it. But you know what now? Thanks to the hard work of you and all your colleagues, our English school children are the best readers in the Western world. Just think about that. That has happened over the last year. Lots of things that, last 14 years of Conservative government, but the thing I'm probably proudest of is that. You did that with all your colleagues, right? Our reforms, you guys did it. Our school kids, your kids and grandkids, best readers in the Western world. Isn't that something to be proud of, right? And that is going to transform those kids' lives. So it's not just about the money, and of course the money will always go. It's about making sure that we focus on the things that matter, and that is a really good example of us taking bold action, sticking to a plan even when lots of unions and the Labour Party said it was not the right thing to do, and now we can see the results in thousands of millions of kids' lives transformed, and that's the future that I want to build for our country. So, all right, good, right. Okay, look, thank you so much for having me. It's been a real pleasure, and hopefully, look, I'm here on day 1 of the campaign. So look, I'm here, first thing one of these I'm doing. It's been a real privilege to be with you. Thank you for your questions. Thank you for what you're doing, and hopefully I can get your support in a few weeks' time. All right, bye, 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 bye.